favorite events to do. We do a lot of marches here, so we're going to do another one. It happens to be one of my favorites. It's called American Tweed. Yeah, that's a great Henry Fillmore march. We're going to do another piece that, this one actually dates back to, I'm going to see it down here, so my cap's over there. This one dates back to the Civil War era, and it's called Battle Cry of Freedom, Kingdom Coming. It's actually a combination of a couple different tunes that were popular during the Civil War period. And so what would happen is the armies had to move their troops from one place to another. And you know, they didn't have airplanes and all sorts of trains and cars and boats and all sorts of things to zip them around. So there was a lot of marching involved. And so one of the popular things to do was to have a band accompany the troops, and they played things that were called quick step. Now, a quick step back then is what we now call a march. At that time, it was called a quick step. There were marches, but marches were much more ceremonial, like a burial march or a processional march. It was a much slower tune. So at this time, back at the Civil War time, it was called a quick step. So this piece here is a quick step, and there's two tunes involved. One is called Battle Cry of Freedom. It was probably the most popular rallying song for the troops in the North. And then the second one is called Kingdom Come. What was that? Yeah, you don't look anyway. Here we go. So probably the most well-known composer of march music is John Paul Sousa, so we're going to do one of his next, called Washington Post. And I think I might have mentioned this before, but maybe you didn't hear me. So a lot of people think that the song was written as a military type piece because it is kind of in a march tempo, a march format, but it was actually written for the opening of the Washington Post building. And just over time, it became affiliated with more military type programs. So this is John Paul Sousa, the Washington Post. composers, a gentleman by the name of James Swearingen, and it's called Lest We Forget. And he kind of wrote it as a tribute to his father, and you know, it's all about, let's not forget that freedom is not free. So let's not forget. Everybody good? Good luck keeping your mind. Okay, another John Phillips piece. This one's called Thunderer. Here we go.
Let's do a sticky on what we can go right to and then computer.
Huh?
What's that? Everybody good with this?
So you're going to be actually singing this later in the program, so you're going to get to hear it once, and then you're going to get to do it later. This is one of our favorite arrangements of America the Beautiful. This one is by Carmen Dragon, and we like it a lot, so we're going to do it. So hope you enjoy it. And listen very carefully so you can get all your notes correct when it's your turn. You good? Okay, so here's our last little piece before the actual program begins. And this is the most famous John Philip Sousa piece, Stars and Stripes Forever.
introduction to our evening. He didn't fall off the stage either. Our hearts were singing, our feet were tapping. I could see all the feet in the front row, and every single shoe was going up and down. If you look at your program, we'll now have the presentation of the colors, and we should stand for that, and also stand for the following three items: the opening prayer by Chaplin, Wright, the national anthem. You don't have the words, but I was assured that we all know the words of the national anthem, so we can sing along. And and the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would now stand and you'll have the presentation of the flag.
Forward. Push.
Pairee, rest.
Chaplin, Wright.
While we're almost all in the depth of our reverent silence, we realize the truth of the inspired words, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. As comrade after comrade departs, we march on with our ranks grown thinner. Help us to be thankful unto thee and to one another. Look in mercy upon the widows and children of our departed comrades, we beseech thee. And with thine own tenderness console and comfort those who are bereaved. Heavenly Father, bless our country with freedom, peace, and righteousness. And through thy favor may we meet at last before thy throne in heaven. We praise thy great name forever and ever. Amen.
Stand up. Present arms.
You may be seated. We will now be welcomed this evening by the Master of the Evening Star Grange, Garry Lynch, Jr.
Good evening. It is again a pleasure to have so many familiar faces, but also so many new faces in the audience with us this evening. It's very nice that Margaret has put on such a great program again this evening. You know, she keeps on saying she's retiring, and I say, yeah, okay, go ahead, it's all right, it's okay. And then along about, you know, the end of January, 1st of March, February, my phone will ring, and it's Margaret, and I'm like, yep, take it away, go for it, girl. And she does, and she has put together a fantastic program again this evening. So, on behalf of the Evening Star Grange, it is my honor and privilege to welcome many distinguished guests, friends, family, the American Legion Band, the VFW Color Guard. It's nice to see the chairman of the Board of Select Boards, Zeke Goodman, here with us this evening, and many other distinguished guests. As this is Memorial Day program, we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to recognize our Grange members who have passed on and gone to the great Grange above. Most notably, my dad, Larry Lynch Sr., passed away. He was the chaplain of our Grange and certainly dearly loved Memorial Day especially, but also this town. And just recently, we lost a many-year member of the Grange, Dusty Rhodes, who, when we were doing the renovations of this hall, Dusty was our head electrician, and most of the lighting and the electrical work that you see in the hall today was done by Dusty. So we do take a moment to remember them. So thank you all for attending. I'm glad it wasn't Saturday, and it's a little more tolerable today. So we'll have a wonderful program, and thanks again.
Thank you, Larry. And since you mentioned Margaret, I think we would be sadly remiss if we did not, at this moment, give her a round of applause. No one has been more devoted to the cause than Margaret. Chaplain Wright will now deliver Logan's address.
Headquarters, Grand Army of the Republic, Washington, D.C., May 5, 1868. General Order Number 11. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose of, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind of fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes. Their soldiers' lives were the reveille of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of the rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is a fitting tribute to the memory of their slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed ground. Let pleasant paths provide invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or the coming generations. We have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes dull, and other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well, as long as the light and warmth of life remains to us. Let us then, at the appointed time, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us in solemn presence renew our pledges to aid and assist those who they left among us, a sacred charge upon a nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend his friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective. N.P. Chaplin, Adjutant General, by order of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
Thank you very much. Would you now stand and join in singing American Anthem?
Herbert.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to, first of all, thank the Evening Star Grange for the honor of doing this poem in the town of Dummerston, which my wife and I call home. We gather today, together, this day of remembrance, here in the Evening Star Grange, to honor those who served our country. The men and women of the United States, and with high esteem. Give solemn thought to those who went before, to those who went the early fallen young lives lost in the fiery siege, in the gravest hours of war. Whether it was at Concord or at Gettysburg, or the muddy trenches in France, whether it was above Berlin or over Japan, in Korea, the jungles of Vietnam, or the barren hills of Afghanistan. Let us pay homage to those our honored dead. Let them be remembered when the names are scrolled in red. Our country's own, wherever they lie, far afield, or at home, or in a green and narrow bed. This is written by Florence Baker Karpin, wife of Jay. Thank you. God bless our military, and God bless the United States.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. As it said notes in the program, you have been there where it matters. We now have the recognition of the former POWs. Well then, would all the, first of all, would all former POWs please stand? Yes, that's for sure. Recognition of all the veterans, Larry Lynch.
They're just going to all keep stood. I believe the band's going to play the service things I thought, but if not, we'll just, they can all stand.
Let's do that, shall we?
Yes.
So how about we're going to play the song of the 5 branches of the military, and if you are current military or former, please stand when you hear your service song. I'll turn around and give you a shout which branch it is so that we all know, okay?
And remain standing because the flags will be delivered afterward, at the end.
So here we go.
before asking all the veterans to stand again to receive their flags, I would like to acknowledge the presence with us tonight of Regina Gilbert Meckle, who is, as you know, a Gold Star mother. Now, if the veterans would stand, the flags will be delivered. You may be seated. Garry Sharon will now play for us, God Bless the USA.
And it says so, but sing along at your able to. It'll sound a lot better that way. If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you, Garry. Thank you very much. The Gettysburg Address was made by U.S. President Abraham Lincoln on the afternoon of Thursday, November 19th, 1863 at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This was 4.5 months after the Union Army had a victory over the Confederate States Army at the Battle of Gettysburg. The address is one of the greatest speeches in the history of the United States. Lincoln spoke of how humans were equal, as it said in the Declaration of Independence. He also said the Civil War was a fight not simply for the Union, but a new birth of freedom that would make everyone truly equal in the one united nation. Lincoln used the ceremony at Gettysburg to encourage the people to help America's democracy, and is as meaningful today as it was when it was first delivered almost 153 years ago. Here to deliver this speech for us tonight is Miss Yvonne Harrison.
A new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who have gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, who consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember that what we say here, but it can never forget what we did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which that who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve these dead have not died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from earth.
She would like to say a couple of words, and I don't believe we could refuse her that, considering who she is.
Well, it is just going to be a few words, and I'm a terrible speaker, so please forgive me. And especially if I get emotional. When I was a young girl growing up in England and running to the area shelters, that's me every night, never in my wildest dreams would I ever have known that I would meet two of my heroes that kept England safe. And I love you, America the beautiful. I love the USA. Thank you.
Moving speakers that I've ever heard.
I can only mention the name. This is the guy, Karpin, and Richard Chaplin.
It's really Hamilton and J. Karpin, they were flying the bombardier planes from England over Germany and protecting England against the enemy. And every night after coming out of the air raid shelter, the next night would be another air raid. Even when we were in school, the sirens would go and we'd have to run into the air raid shelter. And I used to wonder, is my mum going to be okay? Is my dad going to be okay when we get out of here? But these are my heroes. I can't get over it. I just love you so.
You're mine, baby.
That was not printed on the program, but it should have been. It should have been. Thank you very much. We will now stand to sing the Grand Old Flag, accompanied by the band. Among whose distinctions was the French Medal of Honor for his service in World War II.
Test these things. Can you hear me in the back? Sure. You can hear me, okay? I prefer not to use one of these things. I stumble on it. What am I doing?
We'll leave you with it. You're on your own.
How did I get here? Interesting kind of a story. I was a kid in the Bronx, New York. Don't tell anybody that. And from there on, we went out to Long Island. And I went to a school called Hicksville High School. Before that, a date comes to mind, and that's September 1st, 1939. And what was infamous about that date? That's the date the Germans started World War II by invading Poland. All right? They were defenseless, okay? But that was the start of World War II. And as I grew up, I started to turn around to my mom, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be fighting in a war. And she started to cry because she had lived through World War I. And seen her brothers go off, and seen the horrible diseases like the flu that killed thousands and hundreds of thousands and thousands and thousands. And she started to cry, and she said, I hope not. But I was pretty darn sure that was it. I was going to be in the service. And of course, the next one, December 7th, 1941. What happened? We were invaded, right? We were invaded. And I was sitting there doing my homework. I was a senior in high school, and I said, boy, that is really it. I'm going to be gone. And so I thought about, what do I want to do to serve my country? What do I want to do? Do I want to be a Marine? No, I didn't like mud. That was terrible. Flying around like that. Those guys were courageous. I didn't want to be in the Navy or the Coast Guard. I got seasick. I can't do that either, okay? Well, I thought about the Army, but, you know, I hated carrying that big backpack. I was a Boy Scout, and that was enough for me. But I said to my mother, I'm going to go into the Air Force. Well, at the time, it was the Army Air Corps. We were just a division of the Army. And so she kind of laughed a little bit. Yeah, okay, Dave. Well, I had already learned how to fly, believe it or not. At 15, there was a little airport near where I lived, and I took flying lessons from some of the guys. Yeah, I cleaned their planes, and did all the dirty work from them, you know, and mopped up everything and whatever. So anyway, I went down to the recruiting office. It was at Whitehall Street in New York City. And the guy looked at me, he saw, looked at me, oh, he was, you know, skinny little kid, you know, he weighed 150 pounds. I still weigh over 150 pounds. He said, no, and he said, oh, by the way, how much college do you have? I said, I haven't graduated from high school yet. He said, this mental test, Mr. Karpin, is for a 2-year college person. You must have 2 years of math, you must have 2 years of science, etc. So, yeah, okay. So he said, well, go home. He said, we'll probably call you up for something anyway, you know. Maybe, you know, you could clean machine guns or something like that. So, some kind of a menial job anyway. And so finally, I went home, and I got a notice from him to come in and take the test. Passed the physical, Bill, you know, in fact, I had to eat some bananas to make the weight. That's what we did. And so, they sat me down for the examination, and I looked at it and I said, well, I'm going to guess at that one. I'm going to guess at that one. And I was guessing right along. I honestly guessed my way through 2 years of college. So the sergeant was the first one to say this to me. Boy, you really want to die, don't you? And I said, well, I want to get in the Air Force. And he said, okay. He said, go home, we'll call you up. I graduated from high school June 23rd, 1942, my birthday. June 24th, my father and I went into New York City because I had to be in Whitehall Street so early. It was the only way we could get there. Got on a train, make a long story short, we went down to Nashville, Tennessee, to a distribution center there. And I promptly, next week, got the measles. So that set me back a little bit. And about a month later, I got spinal meningitis. And I was one pretty sick kid. And I was still, you know, just 18 years old. And a flight surgeon said, call me in, and he said, we're going to discharge you. He said, you can't fly. I said, no. And I was really nutty. I'll tell you what I did. I reached over and I grabbed him by the shirt. You look at me out of this Army, sir. He looked at me, and I said, boy, you really want to die. So anyway, he said, I will give you 90 days to get back into shape again. You're going to have to take the physical, and you're going to even have to take the written exam again, because this can affect your brain. We're not even sure you have any, but a chance at it. So anyway, he gave me this 90 days. I came into his office, and he said, okay, we went through this, we went through, I did everything fine. He said, touch your toes. And I looked at him, I said, I don't know. Touch your toes, Mr. Karpin. By the way, we were lower than privates. We were aviation cadets, and we were low. We had no standing in the Army whatsoever. So I'm standing there. He said, straighten up. You're out. I walked over to him again. Sir? Okay. He said, I know. You really want to know. He let me go. I went to a separation center. We went down into El Paso, Texas. We did a lot of ground work. We didn't see any airplanes at all. Some guys flying in and out of that airport. And then when I get through all these tests, determine what you're going to do as an officer in the Air Corps, all right? And I came out, number 1 bombardier, number 2 navigator, number 3 pilot. And they said, okay, we'll send you to pilot school. Well, I'm not totally qualified. And then he looked again and he said, you've got the best eyesight I ever saw. You see at 5, you see what people see at 5 feet, you see at 20 feet. It's amazing. He said, yeah, you make a good bombardier. And he said, besides that, he said, you really want to die, don't you? So I went along, went through bombardier school, and then they decided that twin-engine bombers didn't have a navigator and a bombardier, and those guys were getting lost. They'd go out on a mission, they'd forget where they were, and try to come back, and they couldn't. So I was going to be a bombardier, bombardier navigator, and sit in the nose of a B-25, yippee, or a B-26, better yet, you know, or an A-20 maybe. But what happened was that a whole bunch of us went to the Children's Army Air Force Base. We learned how to use, here I am, I'm only 19 years old, and they handed me this thing. I said, what is it? That's the Northern Bomb Sight. It's secret. Huh? What? It's secret? Yeah, me? This kid, you know? I don't know, for nothing, you know? They give me a bomb sight. Then we learned also the Sperry bomb sight, which was used in the B-24s, and I should have known then, okay, I was going to wind up in 4-engine. And we did. The whole class, almost all of us went to McCook, Nebraska on the 493rd Bomb Group, which was a new bomb group. And, but before we went there, we flew some sub-patrol missions. And they were kind of interesting. They were, I could sit out in the nose, you know, and then just fall asleep and whatever, have a good old time. But anyway, we formed up in McCook, Nebraska, and when we finished our training, we got brand new B-24s right out of the factory, right out of the Ford factory, and we flew those from Lincoln, Nebraska, to Dow, Maine, up in the Atlantic Islands up there, and to Reykjavik, Iceland. Now you talk about winters. Let me tell you about winters. Our planes froze right up. And we were there for 10 days before they got rainstorm to put big tarps over them and light fires under them. We only burned up 2 airplanes. That wasn't so bad. Our whole group had 75 of those brand new B-24s. We didn't have much navigation to get to England. It was pretty sketchy, but we made it. We got the Valley Whales first. And they wouldn't let us go any further because our air surplus. We were the last group that was set up to go into the 8th Air Force, the very last. Okay, so our base wasn't ready. We were in the Valley Whales, and all I can say about Valley Whales is they had warm beer, they had prize fights every night, and the girls were really cute. And they were all named Bronwyn. I couldn't have a Bronwyn this. Oh, okay. I had a girlfriend named Bronwyn, her mother was named Bronwyn. I got mixed up. Anyway, so we finally got to our base. I was picked right away. When you're a bombardier, your rating is based on how close to the target you can come at 10,000 feet. And my rating was 120 feet, which is pretty close. I mean, they say you could put a bomb in a 55-gallon drum. Don't believe that, really. That would never work. But we came pretty close. Mine was 120 feet, and I was selected right away to be a Pathfinder bombardier. I didn't fly a lot of Pathfinder missions, but Pathfinder meant that we could bomb through undercast. I don't want to say clouds, but really, really cloudy wasn't the best way to bomb, okay? Not many of my missions were Pathfinder. But in the meantime, that got me a promotion to first lieutenant. I was a second lieutenant at 19. I was a first lieutenant at 19. Okay? And then I started to get the medal. We did a lot of practice missions, and we lost 2 airplanes there in a mid-air collision. Now, when one of these planes go down, how many people do you think died? 10. Right, Richard? There were 10 of us on each 4-engine bomber. okay? So when I tell you my group lost 75 4-engine bombers, that's 750 guys, okay, out of that group. How many did the Air Force, 8th Air Force lose altogether? 42,000 were shot down. 42,000. 26,000 wound up killed in action, and the rest were like Richard that went to and I have more respect for him than anybody I ever knew. To survive the P.O.W. camp was amazing, amazing. Thank you. Finally, time kept going by and by and by. Our losses on our crew, I kept noticing, I think that's some pictures I brought. We started out with 10, and when we finished up, we only had 6 under the original crew. The others had gone flak happy. You call it PTSD today, it was flak happy. And they'd go nuts in their stations, you know. They had a machine gun, a grab on the guns and wouldn't let go, okay? Fired everything the whole thing. Where does it on? Hey, let me ask you something. Do you know where the saying goes, give them all 9 yards? You know, right? Yeah, how much?
It's the belt for 50.
The whole belt for a 50 caliber machine gun was 9 yards. And when fighters would come in, give them the whole 9 yards. I had 2 50 calibers under my seat in the B-17. We switched them to 24s. This was unheard of. But General Doolittle came down and says, we're going to take those planes away from you. We're going to give you 17s. I said, okay. And I looked at it and said, wow, I have a better position. Not a glass, you know. They can kill me easier. So anyway, we flew 12 missions in the B-24s and the balance in the B-17s. We were never shot down. Never shot down. And I flew lead on most of my missions, or worst case, there was the lead of the bomb site, right deputy had a bomb site, left deputy had a bomb site in each squadron. There were 12 planes per squadron. The rest of them didn't have, they were toggleiers. They'd watch to see when my bombs came out, and they were toggle theirs out. Okay? Bomb sites were getting scarcer and scarcer because they'd go down with an airplane. The Germans were getting off bomb sites, and they didn't want that to happen. It would help it. The Sperry bomb site was not anywhere near as accurate, but it did work. So anyway, I went by with terrible losses. One mission. We've got 4 squadrons of 12. Okay, that's a group, 48 airplanes going out. One mission. Mercersburg Oil Refinery. We lost all 12 planes in the lower squadron to fighter planes. Just like that. One down. Down. One after the other. Okay? Now, we had some close calls. We had an 88 millimeter go through our wing, and we had to make an emergency landing in Brussels, which had just been freed by the British. And because all our crew, we got the tank wouldn't seal up. Those tanks were self-sealing. The bullet went into it, and the tank was filled. It would seal right up. If it was empty and they fired an incendiary, you probably lose the wing. I saw a lot of people die, an awful lot of people. And sometimes it comes back to haunt me. And my last mission, I don't want to take up a lot of your time. My last mission, the 35th, okay, came off the target, banked up. And as we did, my buddy, from the day I went into service, was a guy named John Muzzy. And John Muzzy sat in that nose as my right deputy, mission after mission. And I watched John catapulted out of that airplane, whole nose come off, and he's on fire. Now, there's a picture around. We couldn't wear parachutes. Could you? No, we had the parachute next to us, and we had to click it on. Now, you can imagine you got an airplane doing this, trying to put that thing on, okay? A lot of guys died that way. A lot of guys couldn't get that parachute on. And lots of times your parachute was damaged anyway, if your nose was shot off, you know. I mean my nose, but the plane was mine came close. But well, that was it. John Muzzy died on his 35th mission. It was the whole crew. The whole crew went down. You know, it was really, really, really bad. And I think to end this, the worst part of losing a crew you had 4 officers, a pilot, a co-pilot, a bombardier, and a navigator, and a Dessaint hut. They were tin cans, upside down, cut in half. We had to take their belongings. The sergeant would come in and give us some boxes and say, take their belongings and pack them up. And I look at John's picture with him and his wife and a little baby, and cousins and nephews and letters. Dear John, I'm so glad to hear from you. But I heard you're almost done. Wow, that hurt more, I think, than all the Germans shooting at me for all the time. We saw rocket planes, we saw jets, everything that the Germans possibly could throw at us, we saw. But a lot of us survived. But when you're thinking about Memorial Day, think about those 26,000 guys. Most of us in our teens. How old were you?
20.
You were 20, yeah. 18, 19, 20 years old, and we were fighting to save the world from Nazism. Right? And if it hadn't been us, she would have been speaking German. This medal was generated by Napoleon in 1802, and not a heck of a lot of given out. Mine's number 925.
Thank you so much. I can't imagine a more gripping, personal, and sometimes amusing story about an adventure that was often far from amusing. So thank you very much, Dave Karpin. There's a slight change now in the order of things in the program at the request of Margaret, whose requests are not to be denied. And that is that we will have a song, Lord of Nations, accompanied by the piano, and then Paul and Carol Adkins, and then down to the next song. So, please stand.
May your blessings ever be.
weren't asked to do anything in particular tonight, which was a big mistake. So we decided tonight to play a song for you from 1990, when this mandolin was almost new. World War I was over, and after America's brief but painful involvement in the Great European War, many things changed. We were on the edge of ragtime, sliding towards the roaring 20s. Everything raced to become shorter, faster, and more fun. The doughboys had seen the world, and were not always content to resume rural life. This irreverent tune tells that story with up-to-date style and humor. Published by Watterson, Berlin, and Snyder in 1990. Lyrics by Samuel Lewis and Joe Young. Music by the great Walter Donaldson. Now that all is peaceful and calm, the boys will soon be back on
We will now have Keep the Home Fires Burning. With the piano, we stand. Standing for a moment of silence, and then for taps, and remain standing for the closing prayer, and the return to the colors. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, you are the real foundation of nations, raising them up to serve and care for the people dwelling in their boundaries. I thank you for making me a citizen of this land, of freedom and unlimited opportunity, these United States. Send forth your spirit to this country and make it the source of wisdom and strength, order and integrity throughout the world. Amen.
Thank you. We now have the retirement of the colors.
Color guard, stand up. Right face. Forward march.
Final song, God Bless America, accompanied by our splendid band.
Oh my goodness. I kind of miss the man here on this camera.